5. Of course, I am going to be talking about the current state of Formula 1. Of course, Fernando Alonso is rumoured to be going to Red Bull and Mercedes. I don't know where the hell, how exactly it's all going to work out with his contract at Aston Martin. Let me have a quick pause because I've got this avocado toast. As you can see, very nice. And I've got a bit of lemonade and Warnick's Advocate, 17% alcohol. Of course, I can't sleep, hence why I'm doing this live stream. But, of course, which one do I think is more realistic? It all depends on what Max Verstappen does, really. If Max Verstappen wants to join Mercedes, then Alonso will probably take a seat at Red Bull. If Max stays at Red Bull, then Alonso will probably go to Mercedes. Of course, we also have to take into account there is Carlos Sainz, who I think is a dead cert to join Red Bull. Because Sergio Perez is not cutting the mustard. I mean, yes, I know he qualified second at yesterday's qualifying session at Japan, but come on, let's be real here, folks. What can I say about most of the grid? It's not really much to say, but Lando did a great job in qualifying, getting fifth, I beg your pardon, just behind Sainz. Piastri qualified not too far behind, but I think he might be getting a bit cheesed off by the fact that he is struggling to match Norris in terms of quality speed. Then there's Charles Leclerc down in 8th place. Not very good. Not good enough in my opinion. I'm sorry. Got to do better there. Tsunoda got into the Q3 yet again. But it has to be said, though, we've got to give a bit of credit to Daniel Ricciardo, and I'll explain why. Daniel Ricciardo missed out FP1 on Friday morning, so that it was I could do his practice lap. And then, yeah, he actually only qualified 1/10 slower than Tsunoda. So, considering the lack of track time he's had, when you also take into account the fact that FP2 was washed out with rain, this was actually a good performance by Daniel. Okay, yeah, he probably wishes he got into Q3, but it is what it is. But as for Zhou Guanyu, I mean, he qualified last. Last was Bottas got 13th. It was also fairly disappointing for Pierre Gasly, since, of course, Esteban Ocon was actually one of the fastest cars in Q1, of course, and then Ocon, and then, of course, the lack of speed for Alpine really got exposed in Q2, and Ocon was still 15th, so actually it didn't work out too badly for Gasly, because, to be honest, are Alpine going to score points? Of course they're not. Forget it. That team is a joke. I mean, the only way I could imagine Gasly staying at Alpine is if they actually produce a good car for 2026, or they sell to Andretti. Please, please, for the love of goodness, sell to Michael Andretti. I can't be taking another minute of this garbage. It's so ridiculous. Of course, Fernando Alonso did a great lap in qualifying, as we all know. Lance Stroll got knocked out in Q1. Okay, Lance has started the season off well, but of course, as for Lance Stroll, it always only lasts for about 5 or 6 races where he does well, and then he falls off again. It never lasts. His form is not, his lack of form is never, this is not sustainable by Lance Stroll. because the guy is just a pay driver. He is what he is. He's got job security for life because his dad is Lawrence Stroll. His dad will never sack him unless, of course, the investors in the Aston Martin team tell him to actually wake up and smell the roses and realise his son is not good enough. As for the other teams on the grid, Mercedes, well, they kept talking themselves up. They said it was one of their best sessions so far, but they qualified 7th and 9th, which, I mean, is just completely toss in my opinion. Like, yeah, it's not 7th, right? I mean, 6th and 9th. I mean, yeah, Hamilton finally out qualified George Russell, but the car is absolute garbage. Forget it, man. Ferrari, we've already been through. Mercedes, Red Bull, McLaren, Aston Martin, Alpine, Haas. Yeah, great job by Nico Hulkenberg in 12th. Gotta say, he is just carrying that team all by himself now. I mean, yes, I know Kevin Magnussen is, by the way, he is doing a good job, but he is very much the slower driver in the team. He's just there to hold other people up, but at least by holding other people up, he's actually helping Hulkenberg get points, which is a lot more than what Lance Stroll is doing at Aston Martin. Alfa Romeo, I've already mentioned them. Then there's, of course, there is also AlphaTauri RB, I've already mentioned them, which leaves, of course, the other team on the grid. Williams, of course, as you know, Logan Sargeant crashed his car on Friday practice. God grief, Williams, you're a joke. I mean, what are you doing not bringing spare cars? And I'm going to really be honest why Logan Sargeant is at the team. Just after, of course, I have this break for my eating my toast. Yeah, Logan Sargeant is already at Williams is because Williams are running a one-car team. They know Logan isn't good enough, so they can pretty much get away with doing the bare minimum for Logan because it saves them money just having Logan in the car, knowing that they can focus all their efforts on Alex Albon, giving him all the best updates. But frankly, it's not enough, really. It's just not good enough from Williams. They are putting all their eggs in one basket just so that Alex Albon might do well. But really, I mean, this is not the way to succeed in Formula One. I mean, Logan Sargeant isn't good enough to really be in that seat, nor is he even capable of being the sort of driver who can do a block job on other competitors like we see with Kevin Magnussen for Haas. So, yeah, I don't know what to say about Williams. I mean, Williams really are annoying me, to be honest. Not as much as Alpine, mind you, who, I mean, as we all know, you could go outside, take a brick outside from your house, and take all the bricks out of your house and pile it up on a wheelbarrow and try and make a Formula One car out of those bricks. And it would be faster than what Alpine have got. That's my analogy, really. I don't know what else to say, really. I just felt like going on live just to see if how well this application works. I hope you are enjoying yourself. Gotta say, I really do like avocado and toast. Oh my god. Oh, hiya, Silverback. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna be taking over from Chaz, I'm afraid. I don't really have a particularly reliable source for live streams, but yeah, it's great that you're talking. I never thought anyone would actually watch this live stream because it's the first time I've done a live stream. I'm only doing it to see how well whether my mobile works well with a live stream, really. Of course, say it all. I don't find this season to be very interesting, but to be honest, I have been struggling to get excited about Formula One in the past since pretty much when Kimi Räikkönen retired. I mean, 2022 did start off pretty well, but as you all know, the second half of that year turned into the Max Verstappen show, and Formula One has mostly been the Max Verstappen show. I mean, look, I know people moan about how boring Lewis Hamilton's domination of Formula One was, but I have to say, though, Max Verstappen is a total alien. Oh, what was that? Oh, hi, yourself back here. I am only up for the race, but since no chance of call, I'm going to be shortly. Oh, well, I mean, I have to say, God, yeah, Charles has been doing this live stream business for about 7 years now. I don't blame him. Oh, you're gonna be going to bed, yeah. Don't blame you, to be honest. Well, I don't know. I don't know what time it is in America. I hope you're doing well, but yeah, what can be said? I think a lot of times, I mean, Chaz has been a reason why I've been able to watch Formula One to the extent I've done in recent years, because of course, as a kid, I used to be able to watch Formula One all by myself, because back in the 2000s when Michael Schumacher was fighting Kimi Räikkönen and Fernando Alonso Montoya, it was quite fun. I know Schumacher's domination was slammed for being really boring, but you gotta realise though, back then, Williams and McLaren couldn't dominate politics like Red Bull and Mercedes can now, because they just don't, because they never had the clout nor the leadership that Merc and Red Bull have. That just makes it so hard for all the other teams from behind them, like Renault and Aston Martin and of course McLaren, who are now a midfield team, to really challenge them. To have a look at this. I mean, to be honest, I mean, it's so weird to think, but I mean, the past year or so, I've been spending more time listening to music than actually thinking about Formula One at all and watching football, I'm afraid. But it's been a really tough time being a Formula One fan. I mean, what was it? 19 wins out of 21 races for Max Verstappen, was it? I mean, how many? Was it 21? No, 22, I beg your pardon, because, of course, Perez got the other 2 wins, and of course, Carlos Sainz was the only non-Red Bull winner last year. I mean, I don't even think, was it, McLaren in 1988 were that dominant. Yeah, that was really good. I think I'm going to pour a bit more apricot in it. I know I am not promoting alcoholism, for those of you wondering. I'm just doing it because I'm bored. But was it now? Yeah. I think in the 2000s, between 2000 and 2009, we had 17 Grand Prix winners. And then, of course, in the last decade, between 2010 and 2019, we only had 12 Grand Prix winners, since, of course, when Charles Leclerc won his first ever race at the 2019 Belgian Grand Prix winner, he became only the 12th driver to win a Grand Prix in that decade. I mean, it was a really, really... Oh, right, what am I drinking? Yeah, it's... Sorry, I'll just try and make it a bit easy for you to see. It's advocate warnings. It's yeah, for the perfect snowball, warnings advocate, just mixing a long glass filled with ice and fill it up with lemonade, which of course that's the lemonade I'm drinking it with. Yeah, I mean, how many drivers have won a race in this decade? I don't even know. I mean, I'm trying to think. Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen, Perez, Ocon, Gasly. I think that's about 6. Who else won? Sainz won. I think Leclerc also won races in 2022. So we've had 8 Grand Prix winners. Then we've had Russell, Ricciardo, obviously, at the 2021 Monza Grand Prix. So that's 10. I think that's it. I think we've only had 10 winners, which is actually pretty decent considering this is only the 5th season of the 2020s. But with the way things are going, I mean, I don't think we'll be seeing a new winner for some time, to be honest. It is also important to remember that Mr. Fernando Alonso has now not managed to win a race for nearly 11 years. So I think if he was to win a race now, he's going to not only overtake Kimi Raikkonen's record for most races in between victories, but he's also going to overtake Riccardo Patrese record of the time elapsed between race wins, which was, funnily enough, 7 years between the 1983 San Marino Grand Prix at Imola and the 1990 edition at the same Grand Prix track. Of course, yeah, Adrian Newey. How old is he now? 67? I mean, the guy is just, I mean, to be fair, obviously he's a designer, so he doesn't have to do anything physical. He doesn't have to lift objects. He just has to be able to jump on a plane and be able to, like, withstand jet lag, which, I mean, I know at the top start of the season can be pretty tough, but throughout the European leg, it's pretty easy since there's only a 1 hour time gap between Britain and the rest of Europe. Of course, towards the end of the season, it gets pretty difficult with all the traveling he has to do. But yeah, I think there's been talks that he could be going into sports car racing, or maybe do the America's Cup with the yachts and sailing and stuff. Thing is, though, we have to remember there's a massive political battle going on at Red Bull concerning what happened with Christian Horner and their personal assistant. I don't know. I know there's been rumors that if Christian Horner leaves the team, that Adrian Newey can, as a clause in his contract, where he can leave Red Bull, but I'm not entirely sure now, because it does seem to be that Christian Horner was the man who brought Adrian Newey to the team and brought all those mechanics that they've got, because he is the guy who's basically head of recruitment and is responsible for a lot of strategic decisions on hands-on, because he is a very hands-on person. I mean, Christian Horner is key to a lot of Red Bull success, despite the fact that, of course, he has relied a lot on Adrian Newey and, of course, their star drivers Vettel and Verstappen to win so many races for them. But we got to realise, I think, the Thai owners back in Thailand want Christian Horner to stay, but of course, the Red Bull GmbH in Europe wants Horner to leave. It's a very, very, very difficult situation going on there. And it does make you wonder, what's it? I have been speculating whether the Verstappens will stay if Horner will stay if Horner leaves, or the Verstappens will leave if Horner stays. I think that's one thing that could be happening. I mean, for me, regardless of what happens, Red Bull need to get Carlos Sainz. I don't care what else they do, because Sergio Perez is nowhere near good enough for that second seat. We all saw it with his performance in Australia last time out. Finishing fifth, I know obviously the tyres and the brake temperatures were really cold and he was struggling for some reason, but from Perez, he has a habit of driving like a midfield driver far too often when the pressure is on. He doesn't, when he doesn't feel comfortable with the car, he just backs off. He will just literally drive within the car's limit rather than try and push it, because that's what happens when you spend so much of your career in the midfield. You don't drive to your car's limit ever. You just try and score points, as many points as you can, because you're not out there trying to fight for a driver's championship like we see with Verstappen or Alonso, who, by the way, has of course spent a lot of his recent career in the midfield, but because he has experience of driving at the sharp end of the grid with his days at Renault, McLaren and Ferrari, like if he was to be given a top car now, he would be pretty comfortable there. I mean, whether he would actually beat Max Verstappen in the championship is another matter, but I can guarantee you he would win races fairly regularly. It's a shame to see, Alonso and Hamilton constrained by the quality of the machinery they've got. It's not exactly. I mean, Aston Martin did a great job last year, but it's not exactly like, of course, Aston Martin realistically can win a championship, as long as, of course, his dad, just sort of keeps him there, because, I do wonder, did Lance Stroll become a racing driver because his dad wants him to, or was it because, I mean, does Lance Stroll really like motor racing? It's really hard to say. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and say, oh no, he's never ever tried to be good, but he is so inconsistent in terms of his effort and his consistency and his ability to really, really, really be able to be on the limit every weekend, being obsessed with every detail, like we've seen with the likes of Vettel, Alonso, Schumacher, Verstappen, and a few others you could mention at their peak. Lance Stroll just doesn't have that application, and this is now his 8th year in Formula One. He's been there for ages, and he hasn't improved that much in the past 4 years. Like, I mean, for me, he took a huge step forward at the start of 2020, but then, even then, in the second half of the year, he had that big crash of Mugello, Mugello, and then, of course, he was off sick with, of course, the Koof at Nürburgring, and, apart from that pole position at Turkey, I mean, he hasn't really strung many great performances together on a consistent basis. Instead, it's just, he'll have a couple of good races here and there, like at places like Qatar and, I don't know, Baku or Montreal, or whatever he feels like doing well, or whenever the car suits his driving style. And then he'll spend the next 10 races doing absolutely nothing, fighting the Saubers of Bottas and Zhou. I mean, come on, what are you doing, mate? Like, that's not good enough. And, just like Alonso's time at Alpine, he realised Alpine were going in the wrong direction, fate allowing an absolute nobody like Ocon to pretty much act like, oh yeah, I want to be number one at this team. Yeah, well, guess what, Ocon? Alpine are now absolute garbage now. I mean, you should have been sitting there focusing on trying to get another seat, another team, but for some reason you became too focused on trying to beat Alonso and trying to become the golden child of the team. Now you've got Pierre Gasly as your teammate, your childhood worst enemy, and you're going nowhere. And frankly, I mean, you're just both sitting there at the back of the grid doing absolutely nothing. And as a Pierre Gasly fan, it annoys me because the way Alpine managed their team, like having people like Schaffnauer, Laurent Rossi, Alain Prost, Cyril Beatable, and whatever idiot you want to name, they don't know what they're doing. They just had too many cooks in the kitchen, all disagreeing, all arguing about all sorts of rubbish, blah blah blah. Oh no, we should get this designer in. Oh, we should try and get someone from Ferrari in, and then. But because they spent so much time arguing, not only did they end up losing Alonso, they ended up losing Oscar Piastri in the process, which is just laughable, really, because, of course, both of those drivers are doing much better elsewhere. It's absolutely hilarious, really. But, I mean, as a Gasly fan, I mean, he's now, 28 years old? This could absolutely destroy his career. I mean, it's sad because I know a lot of Gasly critics always remind him of course, the time he had at Red Bull where, well, of course, he got destroyed by Max Verstappen. We don't need to go through that. But you see the performances he put in at Toro Rosso before his doom spell at Red Bull, and he was brilliant. He destroyed Brendan Hartley. He scored most of the team's points in 2018 with that 4th place at Bahrain. What a job that was, by the way, getting 4th place. I never saw that coming because, with the Honda engine at the time, no one rated that engine, but yet Toro Rosso proved that it wasn't the engine, it was actually McLaren's car that probably had a few problems here and there. And even though, Toro Rosso finished 9th in the 2018 Constructors' Championship, partly due to Brendan Hartley not really scoring many points. I mean, it was a pretty satisfactory year, and it proved to be the year where Red Bull decided that they'd be better off using Honda engines, which, interestingly enough, Daniel Ricciardo, for some reason, decided that he'd rather become as rich as possible and go to Renault, despite, of course, Renault's engines not being very reliable, and, of course, Daniel Ricciardo having a lot of engine failures towards the end of 2018, which makes his decision to go to Renault even stranger, since, of course, as we all know, Renault have never really become a top team, especially with, okay, good night. Well, going to, of course, decided to go to McLaren, but, of course, I think with Silverback now decided to go to bed, and no watching. I think I'm just going to end this stream, so thank you for watching, everyone.